years of trying. Since Talladega, April 21, Brad Keselowski wins the Goodyear 400. Hard work pays off.
Look at this. Busher mad at Reddick.
Back-to-back incredible races? I think I'll take it. Welcome in, everybody. We are just getting off of the 2024 Goodyear 400 at Darlington. Now, if you were watching the race live with us, that way. There's the logo. But that is the logo for the 2024, actually, it's with the Goodyear 400 logo for like the last 5 years. But anyway, point is, we just got off that race. What a race. Oh my gosh, what a battle down the stretch. A little slow up for, when it started. It was a little bit of a slow start. Kind of a, I don't want to say dull, but a little underwhelming for a little bit. But boy, that finish. Oh, that last like 90 laps was just chef's kiss. It was fantastic. So let's go ahead and drop right into it. Brad Keselowski snapping the winless streak. Well done. Wasn't a little beef. We'll get into that a little bit later, but we'll start where we always start. We'll start in with the results. So let's go right in. Stage 1. Like I said, fairly straightforward. Everything's kind of normal. We're going to go ahead and remove this race logo really quickly here. And we'll go into stage number 1. Stage number 1, Kyle Larson brings home the win. Then you can see we've got Ty Gibbs, Brad Keselowski. Those guys would stay up front all day long. Tyler Reddick literally never lost a battle off pit road. I'd have to double check, but I think he won all the battles off pit road today. That pit box, way overpowered. We'll talk about that a little later too. Truex Jr. snagged some stage points. Todd Gilliland, very surprising. Great job snagging some stage points early. Didn't quite get the finish this high in the race, but still had a very, very solid day, especially in the points. Then we have Busher, Blaney, Byron, and Bubba Wallace rounding out the top 10 for stage points in stage 1. Stage 2 goes off. Everything's fairly normal. We do actually have a caution in the middle of the stage, and then it creates a little bit of controversy. This is where William Byron would go in 3 wide, not enough room. He kind of just slides up instead of lifting, and said he really didn't feel like he was at fault for that one, but, I mean, I'll be honest, looking at it, he kind of were. But he ends up sliding up, getting into Truex, who gets into the left rear of Blaney, takes out Blaney. He ends up bending a toe link, and then there's a whole collision there with Busher, with Truex, and definitely hurt Truex's day. Didn't necessarily kill it. He still did race the rest of the race, but never had the speed after that, and Busher did get a little front-end nose damage as well. So after that, we do move into the end of Stage 3. There was no, or end of Stage 2. There wasn't any pit strategy. I was kind of keeping my eye out for that. There wasn't any. Well, you can guess who. Tyler Reddick wins a battle off pit road, snags the win there. Brad Keselowski second, like I said, there all day. Then we have Ty Gibbs, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Chris Busher, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, and Ross Chastain, all snagging those stage points. So that is how the end of Stage 2 would go. Then we move on to the final stage. This is where things got a little bit interesting. So things go fairly normal. We start Stage 3. We're running like normal all the way through the, I would say, the first cycle of pit stops. And in that first cycle of pit stops, we have 2 different strategies starting to emerge. We have the 2 stoppers and the 1 stoppers. The 1 stoppers was most of the leaders, but there was a handful of 2 stoppers. Guys like Chase Elliott, guys like Ross Chastain, guys like Chris Busher would take advantage of pitting significantly earlier than everybody else because they planned on stopping a second time. But there would be a caution. That caution would actually be Kyle Larson. He has a tire issue after pitting. This is not like he just ran the tires off the thing. He had actually been on pit road relatively recently. He scraped the wall before coming to pit road, just got in too high and hit the marbles, but not really sure how the left rear goes down in that. So not 100% sure what exactly happened with the tire, but it does wreck his car and his day, and really flips the strategy because guys like Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Chris Busher were up higher in the running order as they were falling because they were on older tires, just getting ready to pit about 10 laps from then to get their next set of tires. That's when the caution comes out and basically rescues them. So they, instead of dropping to where they would before the pit stop, they actually end up going through and not having to pit and getting to jump those spots. So that's how those guys snag track position. Chris Busher, the main winner in that batch, that we would notice. So that's what happens in that batch. We go into pit stop sequence. Everybody kind of knows now. It's heads up the rest of the day. This is going to be like the money stop. And this is where I'll talk about the pit box a little bit tighter. That pit box is a bit too close. Okay, so I'll show the replay. Tyler Reddick barely has to move to get to that line. Now, it is 5 whole feet, but 5 feet's not enough when you're talking about getting up to a 40 or 50 mile an hour speed limit. And you could see, like I said, didn't lose a battle off pit road all day, even when he would be slower. And I think if you look at the difference between the yellow line, which is the pit out line, and the pit exit line that they measure to, they need to move that down. They need to move it, if not to the yellow line, very close, because it is too much of an advantage. We're not talking like, hey, you get a clean exit, this. No, we're talking like he has to move so small, he never lost the battle off pit road today. Like, he came in fourth, come out first, come in second, come out first, come out, like, it was never no one could get him off pit road. And it wasn't because the crew or the driver did anything spectacular, it was just a matter of, the pit box is way too much of an advantage. So that needs to be discussed in general, whatever. Tyler Reddick wins the battle off pit road, but then it comes down to Brad Keselowski and Tyler Reddick. They had battled on a couple of restarts, but this one was for all the money, and they knew it. They would put on a fantastic battle. It lasted, I don't even know how many laps. It seemed like forever. It was fantastic. About 5 or 6 laps of just side-by-side, side drafting, tight racing, right up against the wall. It was phenomenal. Chris Buescher got in there at one point, got real close to pushing Brad clear, couldn't quite get there, and eventually Brad Keselowski does squeeze Tyler Reddick and himself into the wall coming out of turn number 4. It was fairly light contact compared to what we would see later, but it was enough to slow both of them down and give Chris Buescher the run to go 3 wide to the bottom, all the way to the bottom of the apron, and slide back up in front and go to the top and take the lead. So then it would be Buescher, Reddick, Keselowski. But Reddick was coming, and Reddick would close back in and get close to Buescher with about 10 to go, and this is when Reddick would throw what I would call a bad slider, just a bad slider. So he comes in, tries to throw the slider, it doesn't stick, he's got no shot, tries to lift, still can't keep it under control, and ends up getting into Buescher in the middle of the corner, and both of them end up in the wall. Now, Keselowski doesn't pass them during this. This was not like it was super heavy contact that both of them immediately lost positions. But on the next straightaway, flat tire for Reddick. The next straightaway after that, after a whole set of corners, Buescher has a flat tire. So that eliminates both of them guys. Keselowski would inherit the lead. He would then go all the way around after inheriting the lead, win the race after, it was a handful of laps. Ty Gibbs was starting to close, but when Ty Gibbs was closing, never really thought it was super, super close, but anyway, Brad Keselowski snaps a 110 race winless streak, which was awesome to see, and we have our results here. So we'll talk about all the guys and the results here in just a moment. Oop. There we go. There's everybody. So, Brad Keselowski, our winner today. Then we have Ty Gibbs coming home second. Josh Berry in third. Had a great long-run car. Just started to get that track position late in the race, but not quite enough time to run anybody down. Denny Hamlin comes home P4. A very solid performance for him today. Chase Briscoe, big day for Stewart Haas to get a top 5. They had a good car all day. And when they were able to finally kind of get some track position and good restarts, that's when they were able to snag that top 5. So Byron comes home 6th. Bubba 7th. Looking over here, we got Bowman. Justin Haley. I shouted him out in the stream, but I'm going to shout out again. Justin Haley, a top 10 in a Rick Ware car. Not a super speedway, not a gas mileage, not a pit strategy. He straight up drove and got a 9th place finish in a Rick Ware car. I cannot express how far Rick Ware Racing has come this year compared to last year and the years before. That is incredibly impressive, and that is really good to see. So awesome job for Justin Haley. 10th place, Michael McDowell, a much-needed top 10. Didn't have any stage points, but was able to snag a 10th place finish. He's really far down on points still. I don't know if he's going to have a shot at it, but that being said, every little bit counts. Then we have Ross Chastain. Chase Elliott was a non-factor almost all day by Chase Elliott standards. That was about as far up as we'd seen him run all day, was in the 12th spot. Christopher Bell, 13th. Noah Gragson, 14th. That was actually a very disappointing finish for him. He came out on the last pit stop, I think, in 13th or 12th, and had a horrible restart. Ended up all the way back in 20th. Drove his way back up to 14th, but obviously I think he probably had a top 10 car had he just kept his restarts clean. Probably it would have ended up about where Justin Haley was in 9th. Todd Gillen scored those stage points early. Good solid finish. Corey LaJoie as well, 16th. Ryan Preece, 17th. That's about as far forward as he had been all day. Really a non-factor again, but does get a good finish. Gralla 18th, Jones 19th, and Austin Cindric in 20th. In 21st, Joey Logano got some stage points, but man, he faded in the last chunk of the race. Harrison Burton kept his nose clean all day and finished the race. That's what it takes. Got 22nd. 23rd, Stenhouse. 24th, Daniel Suarez, and 25th, I believe, or 26th, last car on the lead lap was either Truex or Hocevar. Both of them had gone through, I don't think Hocevar had spun, but I think he may have been on some old tires, done a wave round or something. Busch, Dillon, non-factors most of the day. Busch just had a bad car. He was trying to drive it, just there wasn't anything for that car to do. It was bad. Derek Kraus, wow, colleague, man, they got some work to do. I don't know what is wrong with them cars. But Justin Haley's looking smarter and smarter. He left that organization. They haven't sniffed the top 20 most of the year. But yeah, another tough outing for colleague. We have Chris Buescher, 30th. Like I said, had to pit late in the race for the flat tire. John Hunter Nemechek spun, lost a couple laps as well. We'll show that little clip here, but he just got loose, spun, beached himself. That's what cost him the laps and didn't get him back by the end. And then Tyler Reddick also a few laps down due to pitting for that flat tire as well. Daniel Hemrick, 33rd. I think he was running, but like I said, didn't see him all day, just a non-factor. And then Larson, Smith, and Blaney all out of the race. Larson with this spin, he would lose that left rear tire, causing the caution, and so that would eliminate him. Zane Smith would spin right in front of the leaders. That was enough to hit the inside wall and end his day. And of course, we'd mentioned it earlier, but Ryan Blaney in that incident with William Byron, not very happy with William Byron. That's a little bit of beef here, but you see him come back out on the track, just a little swerve, nothing to do any permanent damage, but enough to send a message of, hey, I'm not happy with you. So there's a little bit of beef there, but then we get to the finish. And after the finish, Brad Keselowski celebrating, and we've got beef. We've got high quality USDA prime choice, I don't know, sirloin, whatever. We got beef! And it's Chris Buescher, and it's Tyler Reddick. And it's something we probably should have seen coming. It was probably obvious. But yeah, Buescher obviously very upset about the way he was raced. He didn't do anything to Reddick, and Reddick basically just slide jobbed him poorly and ended his race. So yeah, pretty justified, and he actually, you can hear in the clip, or see in the clip, he points at the winner sticker, says, I don't have that. And he's in a spot where he's close on the playoff bubble, so that playoff sticker means a lot if you win and get that car in the playoffs, and he doesn't have that yet. Very close last week, very close this week, but 0 for 2 in that stretch, and now he's on the bubble, and I think he might be on the outside looking in. We'll see when we take a look at the standings here in just a moment. So yeah, overall, a very, very entertaining race. We had a fantastic, I thought it was a very, very fun time going down to the end of that race. I thought it was really, really fun. I need to put, let's put the standings in here quick. That way we've got something to run off of, because I didn't actually upload them. There they are. Okay, let's move them over here. A little bit big. Shrink them down a little. There, now it's digestible. Let me slide my way over so I'm not... there we go. Now I'm not hidden by the standings, but there are our standings. You can see Kyle Larson, still our point leader. Martin Truex Jr. both had bad days, so it didn't really hurt him too bad. A little bit of ground gain for Denny Hamlin. He slides up, or does he lose a spot? It says he loses a spot, but nobody else went up a spot. I think he stayed where he was. So 39 points back to Denny Hamlin, 49 back to Chase Elliott, 86, a pretty big gap between Chase and Byron as far as the guys hunting the lead in that regular season championship. Now, let's move down to the bottom of the list, or where our cutoff guys are going to be, and that is actually going to be cutting off at position number 15. So this is actually where Bell is in because he has a win, and then underneath him, Daniel Suarez has a win because he is in. So 14th is actually the last guy in the playoffs at the moment. That is Chase Briscoe. So Chase Briscoe, 160 behind the leader, but the biggest thing is the distance between Chase Briscoe and Joey Logano. Chase Briscoe and Bubba Wallace. That is actually only a point gap of about 6 points. So Bubba finds himself on the outside looking in after a couple of winners and a couple of tough weeks. That's going to really shine up or show up. He's going to need to get either a win or really stretch up that top 10 streak he had going earlier in the year. But anyway, that is pretty much the results of that race. Boy, NASCAR had a good, solid stretch. They had a tough stretch with some short tracks for a little bit there. Everyone was kind of getting a little frustrated, but chef's kiss. We have last week, an absolute classic. Then we go into Darlington, another fantastic race. Just good stuff to see. NASCAR's on a streak here. Hopefully the All-Star race can deliver. If not, we do have the Coke 600 right after that, so a good bundle of races there. Then we do move on to Sonoma, and after Sonoma we move over to Iowa, so very excited for a couple of those races here. But anyway, guys, that will wrap up the race review. Let me know your thoughts on the Goodyear 400 at Darlington. You can find the Race Win Diecast for Brad Keselowski at rasdiecast.com. Link will pop up here in a little bubble, and then you can pick that up over there. Use the promo code RaceCraze to get your 10% off at checkout. And for you Chris Buescher fans, you can head over to rasdiecast.com, get your Kansas raced version for the Checkers or Records, and the Larson Race Win. I didn't get to mention those last week because I was at the race. But anyway, guys, that'll wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed the race. We'll see you next week for the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro.